Getting a strong video idea and creating a great title and thumbnail for that is how you're going to get those views. Once you get the views, then you can actually have the data to look and say, okay, the retention curve here went up when I did this or said that. Always spend that time learning what makes good titles, thumbnails, coming up with better video ideas, not just thinking of the first thing that comes to mind. And some people think that if they don't upload, the YouTube algorithm is going to just stop promoting all of their videos. It largely depends on the type of content that you create. But if you're creating evergreen content that's helpful, that's tutorials that shows you how to cook, for example, like this recipe is never going to change. It's going to get views in another 10 years time.
Hi everyone, this is Shubham Tiwari and I welcome you to the Fireside Chats. Our guest today is a YouTube consultant who has worked with creators and celebrities like Ali Abdaal, Gordon Ramsay, Only Humans, among many others. Jimmy also runs his creator-centric newsletter, The Creator Stream, which you can check out at www.thecreatorstream.com. We'll also put the link in the description. Jimmy, welcome to the Fireside Chats. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking with you today. And, speaking about YouTube's one of my favorite things. That's why I've pretty much made it my job. So I'm looking forward to the next hour.
Wonderful. YouTube is such an amazing platform that we can approach it from many angles. But what is the first thing you notice when you look at a YouTube channel, or before that a YouTube video? I mean, both. Can you answer?
Yeah, so for me, whenever I click onto a YouTube channel, the first thing that hits me is the video's packaging. So essentially the ideas, the titles, and the thumbnails. And then obviously we'll look at things that the views, subscriber counts, things like that. But essentially when I first go into a YouTube channel, I'm looking to grasp what the YouTube channel is about, who their target audience is, what value they are providing to their viewers, and how effective they are at doing that. That's sort of like then when my analytic mind takes over, and I start to break down, exactly what it is that they're doing and how successful they've been and what they could potentially do a little bit better.
Amazing. So speaking of thumbnails and the titles, what makes an effective, combo of title and thumbnail to get it a click?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot of different answers, but mostly what you want to do when you're, sat at that stage of thinking about what title and thumbnail do I want to have for this video? You ideally want to do that before you create the video. I think a lot of people are starting to do this now, which is good. But, even if you went back 18 months, a lot of people would create a YouTube video and then they would create the title and the thumbnail. And what that would usually lead to is creators having an amazing video, but they don't know how to package it. They don't know how to communicate what that video really is. And that's when they then struggle to come up with something that's intriguing enough that will get the clicks and the views. Whereas nowadays, people will actually spend time brainstorming the best titles, the best thumbnails. And once they have a strong combination, that's when they know that they can make a really good video and get the views from it. When it comes to the actual sort of creation part of titles and thumbnails, the first thing that you really want to do with that thumbnail is grab the attention of the viewer, your potential viewer, because people are constantly, scrolling through their phone. Most views now come through mobile. So most people are scrolling through their phone, and you need something that's going to capture their eye, make them stop. So that can be, the use of face and emotions. That can be used of color, of contrast, the certain text that you use. There's a lot of different ways that you can grab the attention of the viewer. And that's really key, because without that, you're just going to blend in with the other videos that are on the homepage, for example. Once you've been able to grab that person's attention, it's then your job to create curiosity, that intrigue that makes someone say, that is an interesting question, or yeah, I do wonder what that is. And you're essentially wanting to create an open loop in their mind where they want to click to find out, right? They're not going to be satisfied unless they've closed that loop. And the only way that they do that is by clicking the video and watching it to understand whatever the question is that you've put in their mind. So really, if you can get someone's attention and then give them a strong enough reason to click, and that usually comes through the text in the thumbnail. It might be, using someone's name or brand. It may be having a title that's very strong that builds off that thumbnail. And all of those things creating that intrigue is really like a powerful combination that will get you the views that your videos deserve. And
Right.
It's good that more people are taking titles and thumbnails seriously, because you can have like really, really good videos. You know, a lot of people spend money outsourcing their editing, for example, thinking that that's going to be the thing that levels up their YouTube channel. When in reality, if you can have better editing, but no one's going to see that editing unless they've clicked. So really, like, getting a strong video idea and creating a great title and thumbnail for that is how you're going to get those views. And I would argue it's always like more important than better editing and all of this other things, because what you really want is views. Once you get the views, then you can actually have the data in your, in your YouTube studio to look and say, okay, the retention curve here went up when I did this or said that, and it went down when, I had a sound effect, or I had the music too loud, or I rambled for too long. And that's when you can really start to pick apart your videos and understand the reasons why people were watching for longer and why people were clicking away. And then that next video, you can fix those mistakes. But you only get that data once you've got the views, once you've got people watching and kind of getting bored and then clicking off the video. But if you're trying to perfect the video editing and the pacing and the story, when the title and thumbnail is not going to be of any interest, or even having like a good video idea, no one's going to care and watch. And so my advice to people really is to always spend that time learning what makes good titles, what makes good thumbnails, coming up with better video ideas, not just thinking of the first thing that comes to mind, and really nailing that before worrying about some of the more like nuanced things like video editing. Right. And that's not to underplay video editing at all. Like, it is very, very important. But I think when you're just getting started, especially when you want that encouragement of, wow, I just got 1,000 views on this video, will keep you going. It will keep you creating. I always feel like just getting those views is really powerful for people.
Right. So, Jamie, getting better at, creating thumbnails, do you think it's more of a philosophical thing where you're, trying to understand people who are going to watch it, or more of a, packaging it from a marketeer's perspective? What exactly is at the core of creating a thumbnail?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's always a little bit difficult to almost like give like prescriptive advice, because every YouTube video is different. Every niche is different. Every target audience is different, and they all react in different ways. It's no different than advertising and marketing. Certain billboards or TV advertisements or movie trailers, they all are made in their own way, and they affect different audiences in different ways to do different things. And so it always comes down to that specific YouTube channel and that audience. I've worked with YouTube channels where their demographic is 55-year-olds and above, and that is completely different to a gaming channel or a challenge channel that's attracting 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds. It's way so different. And when it comes to, titles and thumbnails and like how really you should approach that, sorry, my mind's gone off track. I tend to do this a lot. My mind like splits off into loads of different directions.
So it's indeed a philosophical question then, because
yes,
your mind is wandering.
It is. Yeah, so with that, it really is a mixture of an art and a science. And that's really where you have to really understand your viewer and your audience and who it is that you're making that video for. I say it's like an art, because some people come to me and so they're like, oh, so, should I use yellow for an arrow, or should I use a certain font, or, what is the thing that's going to get me clicks? And it's never just an answer like that. It'd be like looking at the Mona Lisa and saying, what paintbrush did Leonardo da Vinci use? And it's like, hang on, you're zooming in way too far on one specific thing. It's more like the colors he used, the paintbrush strokes, the texture that it created on the paper, the subject, the composition, the slight smile that tells this story. Like, there's so many things that go into the Mona Lisa that make it what it is. It's not just this one little thing. And people tend to do that with titles and thumbnails. They just think, oh, if only I had this, or if I added a little icon there, or whatever they think it is, it's going to make a huge difference. And sometimes people do fall into that, because they might update a thumbnail and only add, some icons or some text, and it actually does perform better. And so they
Wow.
instantly believe, oh, okay, I need to do that for every thumbnail. When again, that's not the case. Thumbnails is something that changes all the time, and you should be A/B testing with like 3-4 different types of thumbnails to work out the one that's best for your particular video. If you take someone like Mr. Beast, I think he creates like 20 different thumbnails for a video, and they're all completely different. And that's because there's so much nuance, and you never really know which one's going to perform better. And I think he even said in one of the podcast interviews he's done that he pays $10,000 per video just on the thumbnails.
Wow.
Which is a crazy amount of money, just for a thumbnail. But that can be the difference between 30 million views and 80 million views for him. And that's a huge, huge difference. So it's absolutely worth doing that. I think it's important for beginners to understand that sort of thing and don't beat themselves up and have patience. But also understand that you don't have to be spending £10,000 or have 20 different thumbnails. The most important thing is to just get going and learn as you go. It's a lot of people nowadays, they get stuck constantly trying to be the best and, running before they can walk.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you touched upon, that minor difference in the thumbnail that is going to make a video, that is going to take the video from 10 million to 80 million. So, we can see a lot of bad thumbnails, and we can see, of course, great thumbnails like Mr. Beast is doing. But what is the difference between a good thumbnail and a great thumbnail? Because a lot of people can't make that leap. Why do you think that happens?
There are a number of different ways that I can answer this question. Sometimes it can be the case that you make a title and thumbnail that works with your subscriber base. And so you see a 1 of 10 when you first upload it in the YouTube dashboard. You're really happy. You're thinking, okay, this is amazing. The video's 1 of 10. It means it's going to perform. And then like 2 days later, it's dropped down to an 8 of 10. And you're like, okay, what happened? Why did it explode? And then it just stopped. And the answer is just simply that the title and thumbnail that you created was good, but for your core audience. It was people that related to you, that saw your face, and they clicked because they knew your videos. But to a broader audience, we might not recognize you. You might have a title that's not that interesting, that uses characters or names that resonates with a strong subscriber. But to a broader audience, to a new viewer, they don't care. So they're not going to click. So it's always about kind of asking yourself, who is this video for? Is this for my core audience? And this is more of a community type video. Then you can put your face in and you don't have to worry too much about having the perfect title and thumbnail, because it's your core subscribers that will be watching. But if you are trying to, get on the homepage and get millions of clicks from new viewers and returning viewers, your subscribers, then that takes a completely different approach. And you're going to have to think a lot more about that attention and intrigue that we spoke about at the beginning, because that's how you're going to get the people to click. And, being able to make sure that the video topic that you have is broad is going to have that impact. And there's a perfect example of this. There's a YouTube channel, I can't recall the name of it, but they uploaded a video 2 months ago, and they're a snowboarding YouTube channel, and they created videos on like the best boards for beginners, how to do this snowboarding trick, blah, 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 blah. This type of content would get them on average 2,000 to 5,000 views. So there's 2,000 to 5,000 views of people within the snowboarding niche that want to know what are the best boards that they can buy and how to do certain tricks. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's you're pleasing that audience. Now, they've created another video that had broad appeal. This particular thumbnail ended up earning them like 2.5 million views in the space of 2 months. Okay. So from 1,000, 2,000 views on average to 2 million, nothing like a magic wand didn't come over and just, hit this video and all of a sudden it went viral for that particular niche. It just resonated with a bigger audience. And let me quickly just find what this thumbnail here actually had more than 2.5, as I said. It actually is 4.5 million views in 3 months. And the title was, I traveled 10,000 miles to ride fake snow. And the thumbnail was the legs of a snowboarder on top of this really weird, I mean, how would you describe that?
Yeah, this is very weird looking. It's like small mushrooms. I don't know what
yeah, it's like small mushrooms, like it has a strange texture to it. Yeah. And that's obviously the fake snow that they're talking about there. And that's very, very bizarre. Like that grabs your attention, as we spoke about before, because it has repetition, right? There's loads of them, and it goes on for as far as the eye can see. We have this nice blue sky at the top there, and then these red trousers. So it instantly grabs your eye, and then the intrigue part comes into it, where you're like, what is that? Are those mushrooms? What is it that he stood on? And so it opens up that question of you wondering what this thing is, and that's when you read the title. He traveled 10,000 miles, which is very extreme. And he did it on fake snow.
Fake snow, yeah.
So that's the fake snow. How did he travel 10,000 miles? Is that possible? Like, all of these questions are there. And then you want to click to see how he's doing it. Whereas if you look at the alternative, which was these two here, learn this 180 first. So he's talking about a trick type of video, or how to stop faster on your snowboard. That is very, very niche down. Like that's the difference between why some videos will go viral and why some others won't. And that was just like one reason why. There are many, but like making sure that your video idea in the title thumbnail, like packaging, is to a broader audience. Because if you don't, there's a lot, a high chance that your potential audience is going to be 100,000 people instead of 100 million people.
Right. I mean, it's amazing how you how you chose your words very carefully when you said like interesting an audience and intriguing an audience, right? So that's the difference, right? Because not everybody, may be interested in snowboarding, but they're interested to know what a fake snow look like. So that's just amazing, like the nuances. I'm going to ask you something that is, I faced myself and I see other people do it. When you put really, more and more effort into something, you're very serious about something, it doesn't work. But when you don't put any effort into something, you just, like, okay, I have to do this, I'm doing it. And it certainly works. So why sometimes, let's say taking a backseat works with YouTube? Are we taking ourselves way too seriously with our ideas? Or, I mean, are you getting my point? Because I'm trying to explain this for the first time in words.
So what I think you're saying is, why do some people succeed not putting pressure on themselves, and there are others who, I've got to get the title right, I've got to get the best idea,
I mean, some
and then
things
they don't
are effortless. Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting point, because I've been on YouTube since 2007.
Wow, you're an early adapter.
Is pretty much day one in terms of YouTube. I think it launched in 2006. I was on it from 2007. I was only 12 years old, very, very early to YouTube. And I was, making videos of me editing a lightsaber onto, something, and pretending I had that. And, I was learning how to video edit, and I was making tutorials teaching people how to, hack their computer and do all of these like fun things. And I was just watch tutorials and make them. And eventually that morphed into a gaming YouTube channel. And I would upload videos there all the time. And I grew that YouTube channel to just under 100K subscribers.
Wow.
And for me, I did that because I enjoyed making videos. I was interested in YouTube. I liked the games I was playing. I liked recording. I liked editing. I liked making the thumbnails. The whole process was a joy for me. And so that's how I came at it. And I didn't see this as anything else. I didn't want to become famous. I didn't want to make loads of money. I just did it because I enjoyed it.
Just wanted to have some fun. Yeah,
exactly. And that's because that's all you could really do back on YouTube then. There wasn't ways to monetize like you can today. The biggest YouTuber on the entire platform up until like 2009, I think, only had like 1 million subscribers, which is crazy now because so many YouTubers have 1 million or more.
Yeah.
And the platform's changed so much in like the last 10 to 15 years. And that's just because the creator economy is developing more. There's more money coming in. People who were kids have now grown up and they see this as a viable career path. And so people treat it differently. And that's where that pressure comes in of, I have to make good videos because I now have employees that I need to pay their salary, or I want to become an influencer full time so I can be sent free things or make loads of money, or I want to be able to have more Instagram followers. And, this goes further than just YouTube.
Yeah.
And, for me, when I was 16, 17 years old, I was making about £750 a month just through uploading videos. And I was only uploading 3 or 4 videos a week. Sometimes I would do it, 7 or 8 videos in a month. It was however I felt at that time. Because again, I wasn't putting any pressure on myself, but I was making good money for that time without putting in loads and loads of effort into making those videos succeed. But at no point did I think, wow, I need to start doing daily videos because I need to make all of this money. And this isn't me trying to like put myself on a pedestal and look down on other people. It's just that was at my mindset because I just didn't see it that way. I enjoyed playing the games with my friends and collaborating with other YouTubers. And it's what I used to do when I finished school and I'd come home. And obviously all of those skills have helped me get to the point where I am today, where I've, worked in YouTube agencies and TikTok agencies and for big YouTube channels. And now I'm just a consultant. And obviously I picked up all of those skills along the way, but at no point was I thinking about any of this stuff. I just did it because I wanted to. And so nowadays, I think people need to try and take a little bit more of that into their strategy when they're creating a YouTube channel. Have fun with it. It doesn't matter if your video sucks one time. You're only as good as your last video. Just get back up and create another video. Exactly. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection kills so much, and it's not healthy. It will just make you bully yourself, feel like you're not good enough. You'll have imposter syndrome. You'll compare yourself to others. It's like, why do that? Why
absolutely. It's really important to, remember that we are here to have some fun, because if there is no fun, then there's no YouTube, right? So, so coming to the topics of the video now, Jamie, should one indulge in trendjacking? Because a lot of videos, a lot of hyper local videos, because, in different languages that are catering to a very niche demographic, they succeed at it, right? They just get so many views. They're like, they have terrible thumbnails, terrible titles. But of course, that's a different story. But they're really good at trendjacking. But do you think it's a good idea if you're looking to get to a bigger audience?
Yeah, I think you should, especially if you're a beginner. When you're just starting out, because you should leverage the faces and names of celebrities, brands, other YouTubers and influencers, because people are already interested in these things and they will click on those videos, whether they're on the homepage or they're searching for it. So I think, it's a good idea, but they have to obviously have a reason for being in your video. You can't just, you can't just stick a YouTuber's name or a brand or something to a video if it has no relevancy there. I'd be creative about it. I used to do this a lot with my gaming YouTube channel. I had a Minecraft YouTube channel, and obviously you have a lot of mods that can come with that. And I would look at what were the popular movies at the time. And, that time you had Spider-Man, there was a new Wolverine movie coming out, you had the Avengers. And so there was a Minecraft mod of the Avengers where you could essentially adopt their superpowers and fly, and you can turn into the Hulk and smash things. And so I would make videos about like the Incredible Hulk in Minecraft, and I would make an entire video of me showing off this mod within Minecraft, and then it would get like 1 million views. And I did this so many times, and it was interesting because most people started to develop this trend over time. So you take things from TV shows and cartoons and movies, and you just leverage whatever people were interested in at that moment and jump on that trend and combine it with social hacking, and your videos would perform well. And it was a great way for people to get in the door, to see your personality, to see you play those games, to then check out your other videos and then become a fan of you. And that's when they'll watch the other videos that don't rely on social hacking, where it's more just you and, these other video ideas that you've come up with.
Yeah, amazing. My next question is regarding a particular niche of, let's say, reviews of gadgets, reviews of films, anything. A lot of people, struggle to find their voice, or even when they have their voice, they think like, oh, why should anyone care about what I think about, let's say, film? So, So how do you get over that? First of all, that fear or whatever that is stopping you, and how do you, build a loyal audience around your, let's say, views? How do you monetize it?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people fail to find their voice because they emulate others too much and they never really diverge from that. So I think it's okay for people when they're first getting started to say, I'm a fan of this particular YouTuber, I want to create videos like them. So let me try and make videos like them. And that will teach you a lot of how to actually pull off that style before you then have to find your own voice. There's been people in the past like Ben Brown. He was a travel vlogger. He pretty much copied Fun for Louis, which was another big travel vlogger at the time. He copied his style exactly. And Ben Brown blew up because of it. And eventually Fun for Louis said to him, hey, you need to like find your own voice and just stop copying exactly what I do. This YouTuber Ben Brown has said that this was like one of the biggest, points for him because it allowed him to create his own path and not just rely upon what others were doing. And, I think more recently you can look at someone like Casey Neistat. He did his own thing. And then you had a bazillion Casey Neistat people who would copy him. And it's happening now with Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast was original. He had his own way. And now you've got hundreds, if not thousands of YouTubers that do the exact same thing, but they will never be better than him because he's the original. And it does give them some success, which is completely fine. But you then can't rip off exactly what he said, the title, the thumbnail, the idea, because it's like, what are you doing? You're not original. You're not going to continue to grow. If Mr. Beast stopped uploading a video, you're not going to know what to do, right? So do it to the point when you're first starting that it teaches you those skills, but then you need to, find your own path. It's the only way that you're going to grow and actually, have an impact on an audience. And when it comes to growing a loyal audience and, making money and things like that, it's all down to just building that trust with your audience. And you can do that pretty much by just providing so much value for free. To make yourself the expert or at least a trusted individual in that space. And only then people will buy from you, right? It's like any other business. People buy from people. It's why YouTubers are so good at selling to their audience. I worked in a TikTok agency and there were many, many times where we'd have brands that would pay us ridiculous sums of money. And we would, get 15, 20 really big influencers from 500K followers up to like 20 million followers on TikTok. And they just wouldn't sell. The product wouldn't really sell, you'd get some clicks, but no one would really sell. And that's just because on TikTok, the relationship between the creator and the audience is much weaker than YouTube, because on TikTok, people will watch that video whenever it appears in their feed. People don't really go searching for that TikToker. It's only when it appears in their feed. And when it does, the TikToks can be 10 seconds long, a minute long, 3 minutes long. And usually it's very entertainment, right? It's funny, it's entertainment, and there's not much depth. Whereas with YouTube, you can upload 3-hour-long videos if you wanted, right? And most people upload 8, 10, 15-minute videos all of the time. And there's more of a connection there with the particular YouTuber. And so people relate, they connect, they trust a lot more on YouTube than they do on TikTok. And so when an influencer wants to sell, YouTube is so much more powerful than TikTok. And like I said, I've seen this firsthand in YouTube agencies. And so I think another problem that people have as well is influencers try to monetize from day one, which I think it's a mistake as they're focusing on the wrong things. Going back to our previous conversation, it should be about getting going and getting good at your craft, not, trying to make as much money as possible. Just goes back to my example as me as a teenager. It was just about having fun. It wasn't about making money. Even when I was making money, I wasn't thinking about how can I make more.
Amazing. Do you still play Minecraft?
No, I haven't played it in many, many years. I've seen it from time to time again. I'm like, it's changed a lot since I last played it. And there's a part of me that always wants to go back and start doing the gaming channel again, because I know I could grow it and have fun there. But my time's just so busy with my clients and all of the other businesses that I have. But I do miss that gaming channel. I do want to go back to it at some point.
I mean, see, all the signs are there because you were building lightsabers, right? And the Mandalorian third season just dropped. So
yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I was just found my own path. I created doing, I was interested in Star Wars and visual effects. And so I started to do that. That then led to me, being very geeky and learning, computer science and how to code and how to hack things on your computer and make it do crazy things. And that made me have those tutorials, and that learned me how to video edit. And then that slowly morphed into a gaming channel, and doing that taught me how to make thumbnails and edit even more. And all of that then translated into my full-time job at a YouTube agency. And like all of these things were steps that I can only see looking backwards, but they were all little skills that were building on one another. And I didn't have that path. A lot of people now, especially like businesses that go on YouTube, they're very strategic about it. It's like, I want 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. And it's like, why? What makes you want to have 1 million subscribers? Why is that important to you, this number? 10,000 could be enough for you if they're the right people. It's just about taking one step at a time and constantly adjusting, instead of just saying, that's where I want to go, and I'm going to get there through brute force, because sometimes that just doesn't work. There are obviously exceptions to that. But for the most part, especially people starting out, it's like, just have fun, take it a day at a time, keep improving, and you'll eventually get there. This could be like a 3-year journey for you. Yeah,
absolutely. And thank you, George Lucas, for making Star Wars and giving us, making us all geeks. So, Jamie, you often say that, there are many ways to monetize a YouTube channel. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, there are just so many different ways that you can monetize an audience now. You can use things like affiliate links, sponsorships, AdSense, your own courses, digital products. You can launch a SaaS business. You've got merch. You don't just have to rely upon AdSense anymore as it initially was 10 years ago. And I think that that's just going to become the case more and more as things go on. We're seeing even the larger YouTubers who are able to launch entire drinks companies like Prime, with KSI, and
have you tried it? Have you tried it yet?
David Dobrik's launched his own physical, in-person pizza store called Dobrik's, I think it's called. And so you're seeing them even going to traditional businesses now because they have the audience. The audience is such an important part of not just YouTube, but I think a lot of online businesses going forward. If you have a strong, dedicated audience, I genuinely think there's nothing that you can't do. It's just like unbelievable, some of the things and the opportunities that come your way. And you don't have to be at Logan Paul's level to mean now you can join the WWE, or you become a boxer, or you do all of these crazy things. Even if you have like 100,000 very strong followers, that can mean that you end up making $500,000 a year. It could mean that you end up with, several different businesses. And there's so many opportunities that can come with that, of like getting talks around the world that you get flown out to, and you get paid $10,000 to talk for an hour. Like, I could go on forever about like so many different ways that I know creators who make money because they have a dedicated audience. And that's like, for me, like the biggest thing about building an audience is it's like, there's so much opportunity, but again, don't put the pressure on yourself of like, I need this now, because if you do that, you'll never get them. And your desperation will reject that audience. The audience love authenticity and people that they can trust and believe in and feel like real people. And if you do that, you have so much more success than the opposite way.
Yeah, and people can smell desperation from miles away. They can just see through. Speaking of audience and creating a community, we see a lot of to give you an example, Hollywood personalities, they are starting their podcasts, they are have their own TikToks and everything going on for them. So they have an audience outside social media, right? They have an audience which, I mean, every audience is in real world, but that's like IRL, like real IRL. So what would you suggest to creators who should they try to go out and build their audience outside the social media platforms as well?
The answer is yes, if you add the last word there, which you said, which was as well. If there's no reason why you shouldn't be connecting with people in the real world and trying to make friends and have experiences there, but really the answer is no. It doesn't matter if you have a big following outside of YouTube or not. Celebrities have brand recognizability. If we talk about Gordon Ramsay, he relies upon his face and his name for clicks. He has a production company. He just turns up, records, and go home. Right, the producer and the video editor, and like all of that's taken care of him. He just turns up and does his thing and goes. With a YouTuber, there's a heck of a lot more that goes into it, especially if you're a beginner and you don't have a team. You've got to do everything yourself, and in my opinion, that's an advantage because you learn a lot about all of these different areas and how they interplay, and it gives you more creative control over what it is that you want to produce. But all of the biggest YouTubers that you can think of right now, when you listen to this, I would imagine that 99% of them did all of this by themselves from day one, and they didn't have a big team behind them. So there's no need to have a big name to get started on YouTube.
Amazing. So Jimmy, now coming to your consultation services, you only work with those channels that commit to working with you for at least 90 days. Mm-hmm. Why do you insist upon that number?
Yeah, so for me, 3 months is the minimum amount of time you need to really make like a lasting change on a YouTube channel. It's not an easy fix. You won't just have one phone call and everything changes, unless that YouTuber is obviously so far along that they can implement it. But for me, when I'm partnering with someone in the long term to help grow their YouTube channel, I like to have 3 months, because those 90 days is really where we can turn things around, implement the things that need to be implemented, and then actually see those effects. I feel like if you used to say it's just 1 month, you've put pressure on yourself and the client to then perform a miracle in 30 days. And I think that that's just not viable. You can have an impact on a YouTube channel in 30 days, but I just think like having a 90-day window of being able to, have multiple videos that are now, double, triple, quadruple the amount of views that you were getting before is just better for everyone.
Right. Who are your favorite YouTubers? Top 3.
My top 3 right now, I would say, is Joshua Wiseman. I'm just constantly watching his cooking videos, even though I never cook anything that he makes because it's so extremely complicated. He would be one. Who else would be another? Another one who, I don't know if you'd call him a YouTuber, but Dave Portnoy.
El Presidente.
Reviews. Yes, El Presidente.
Love it.
I mean, that's 2 YouTubers that are food related, so it shows you that I love watching food videos. But
pizza in particular.
He just turns up every single day, he takes one bite of a pizza and then ranks it. And
he wears the most insane clothes, man. His fashion quotient is like on point.
Yeah, it's always completely different. So yeah, those 2 would be my favorites at the moment. And who would be a third? I have no idea who a third would be.
You can name a podcaster if you like.
A podcaster. Chris Williamson. I like listening to Chris Williamson.
Very calm and,
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's calm, but not like Lex Friedman. Lex looks like, he's coming from Transylvania and he's like speaking very slowly.
Yes.
But I love him.
Very good branding.
Yeah. So, we have talked about it, like it's very important to have fun. It's important to, keep reminding yourself to have fun while being a creator. But being a full-time creator leads to burnouts. That's there, right? What do you suggest people? How do they keep themselves away from getting burned out?
I would say you don't, which honestly isn't the thing you want to hear or what you want to be saying, but most creators I know have some level of burnout. I think it's a real problem, and YouTube doesn't help, even though that they know this. And a lot of creators have said in the past, like, YouTube needs to step in some way and help, because most creators feel like they're on a hamster wheel. You know, it's like if you don't upload, they feel like their audience is going to forget about them. They feel like they have to publish all of the time. There are some YouTubers that do daily videos, and they do it for like 2-3 years straight. And I take my hat off to you, because I would not be able to do such a thing. But I think it's a problem, and a lot of influencers will say that if this was a real job, you would be entitled to X amount of days off per year. If you felt burnt out, you would be allowed to, take a week or two from work and recover, and you'd get paid for it. But obviously, as essentially freelancers, as self-employed people, we don't have that luxury. And myself, I'm not. I'm not a YouTube creator full time. Like, that's not my main thing. I do YouTube consulting, but even I feel like that. I'm working on so many different YouTube channels and building my own like a company on the side, the thumbnail vault and other things like that. That I work weekends, weekdays. I work over 12-hour days, and I'm tired at times, and I get burnt out, and I feel my eye twitching, and it's stressful. But it's like you can't really stop, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, suck it up. You wanted this life, you've got it. You keep working hard, it'll pay off. But there's also another part of you that's like, I need to rest every now and again, and I need to take some time off, and I actually need to live my life because it's not all about work. And yeah, it's just about having, trying to find that balance. And I think some YouTubers have been able to do that once they've got established and have that foundation of followers that are dedicated to them. I think Emma Chamberlain probably being the most notable within the past year or two. She pretty much quit YouTube and she started to post now, but she'll post maybe like once every month, 3 months, sometimes 6 months. Like, it's very, very spaced out, but she's got to the position where she can do that. And, but in those early days, for the first like 2-3 years, you're pretty much uploading a video every single week if you want to see success. And so if you're doing that alongside a full-time job, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And what words come to your head when you hear the word algorithm? A lot of people are very scared of it. They look at it in like something which is, they just can't win it. They just can't, work with it. What do you say to that? Yeah,
some people think that if they don't upload, the YouTube algorithm is going to just stop promoting all of their videos. It's just going to turn it off, like a tap. I don't believe that happens. I don't believe if you stop uploading, every single video just stops. It largely depends on the type of content that you create. There are videos that have been uploaded 10 years ago that are still getting great views now. And that YouTuber may have stopped uploading 3 years ago, but they still could be making 50, 60,000 views a month. Those YouTube channel just doesn't die instantly. But that largely depends on if you create evergreen content or if you're creating content that's trendy, that's dead within the week. If you're creating that type of content, then yes, you're on a hamster wheel. And the second you stop, people don't care, right? It's why like news YouTube channels and drama YouTube channels, they've got to keep up with what's going on, because if you stop, no one's looking at the news from a year ago. But if you're creating evergreen content that's helpful, that's tutorials, that shows you how to cook, for example, like this recipe is never going to change. It's going to get views in another 10 years time. And so you can pretty much create a library of content that if you do it well, people will go back and watch it again and again and again.
Wonderful. So since Jamie, you're also running your newsletter, the Creator Stream, please tell us more about it, so that more and more people can follow.
Yeah, so the Creator Stream is a newsletter that I release every single week. It's essentially 3 to 4 links to content within the sort of the creator economy, as it were, that I found that week that I particularly enjoyed. So it might be a Twitter thread on how to create better titles and thumbnails. It might be a YouTube video of someone talking about how much money they've made in that year through their YouTube videos. It might be a cool new piece of equipment or software that I found that helps to speed up video editing. It really is whatever I want it to be. And it's pretty much all just to do with the creator economy. So if you're interested in this space, I'd recommend signing up. Every single week is just a couple of links. There's nothing else to it other than that. I just like to share what it is that I'm exploring and finding.
Jamie Whiffen, thank you so much for your time, for this fun session. I hope the audience can, take away many points from it, and they don't, forget to have some fun. And make sure to find Jamie on social media, particularly on Twitter and his newsletter. Reach out to him, book a slot if you are in the need of some consultancy. Jamie, thank you so much.
No problem. Have a great day.
Last ritual. Would you like to nominate anyone for our show?
Yes, I would nominate Gordon Greenhorn. I worked with him for probably about a year. He's an incredible videographer. He's worked with some really big YouTubers, very, very creative. He came from the traditional world of production. So he would, create things like TV shows and advertisements and wedding photography and videography and all of that sort of world. In the end, he's moved into the YouTube world, and it's been a really interesting transition for him to come from one to another. But he's killing it. He's doing very well. He's the videographer for Ali Abdaal as well, and so he's someone I would recommend.
Amazing. Thank you to our audience for sticking with us. If you liked it, please let us know in the comment section. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. And cut. That's it for today's episode, guys. If you really liked it, please subscribe to the 1000 Faces Club and press the bell icon below so that you don't miss any videos from us. Thank you.